I am incredibly proud to work with 250,000 dedicated and talented personnel, and I look forward to continuing to do so.
No concern about that?
I am not. I am focused on mission and supporting our incredible workforce.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas saying he's not worried about Republicans threatening to impeach him over his handling of the border crisis. Our next guest hammered Mayorkas on Capitol Hill, accusing him of lying about securing the border and abandoning border agents. Joining us to discuss is Republican Congressman from Mississippi and Vice Ranking Member on the Committee on Homeland Security, Congressman Michael Guest. And Congressman, good to see you, and thank you for your time here.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me this morning.
Absolutely. Questioning him, you had the opportunity to do so. There are a lot of calls for Mayorkas to be impeached from the GOP. He's by the GOP rather. He made the rounds on the Sunday shows you may have seen. The major sticking point, though, what he said is the border is closed. Is that true?
It's clearly not true. I've had the opportunity to visit the border twice within the last 2 weeks. Went to El Paso and then returned to Eagle Pass. And when I was there, along with other Republican members, every person that we spoke to, without exception, said two things. One, that the border is the worst that they have seen it in their lifetime. And two, that they feel that this administration has abandoned it. And so for Secretary Mayorkas to tell Congress, to tell the American public that the border is closed and that the border is secure, he is being dishonest with us. And I think that we need to continue to call him out. 221,000 immigrants were apprehended in March attempting to cross the border. You throw in the number of gotaways, those individuals that we know because of electronic surveillance that crossed the border that were not apprehended. That number then rises to over 250,000 people in March alone. And so this individual, Secretary Mayorkas, is not being truthful, and we cannot allow him to continue to lie to the American public.
Where do you side on the calls for impeachment? There have been several Republican lawmakers that feel that he has not performed to his duties for the American people. Where are your thoughts?
I mean, clearly he has failed to do his job. Clearly he has failed to secure the border. As far as impeachment, I believe that we need to wait and first win the majority back. Once we win the majority in November, once Republicans retake the House of Representatives, I think that would be the time for us to have this conversation. But I believe right now what we need to do is we need to be doing everything that we can to see that the federal court maintains Title 42. We know that Title 42 was set to expire just in the matter of 3 weeks. The federal court has stepped in. The federal court has stopped that. And so at this point, our main focus needs to be maintaining Title 42, needs to be making sure that we are giving Customs and Border Patrol the resources that they need to maintain this crisis, and then winning the majority. And then once we win the majority in November, that's when we need to move into the discussion of whether or not Secretary Mayorkas needs to be removed from office.
There also is the question of who's to blame. This was brought up to the secretary on NBC's Meet the Press. Mayorkas seemed to shift the blame of the border crisis on other countries. I have that soundbite. We'll play that for you. Here it is.
What we need countries to do is to apply their laws and say, look, if in fact somebody qualifies for relief in Panama, then they should be able to remain in Panama under the laws of that respective country. And if they don't, we need the country to repatriate those individuals. This is not our responsibility alone. It is a regional responsibility in response to a regional challenge.
But as you know, the secretary under oath has said that he does not support MPP or remain in Mexico policy. What is different with our southern border versus what he's saying about a country like Panama?
Well, first, what he's doing is he is continuing to shift the blame on someone else. First, early on, when he took office, he blamed the border crisis on President Trump and President Trump's policies, which clearly worked, but which he claimed were causing the surge. And now he's beginning to blame other countries. And that was the whole reason that the vice president was appointed as border czar. She was going to work with these countries to try to make sure that we were doing everything that we could to stop them from ever leaving their home countries and coming to the southwest border. Clearly, she has failed miserably at the task for which she is appointed. Now we're seeing Secretary Mayorkas. He can no longer blame President Trump for the crisis that he's seeing, and he's trying to blame other countries. I do believe that we need to work with those countries, but I will tell you that I have seen no no efforts, no fruits of anything that this administration has done to stem the tide of those individuals coming from Central American countries to our southwest border.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Congressman Michael Guest of Mississippi, good to see you. Congressman, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.